Joining me now here on set, Jeffrey Epstein survivor, Danielle Bensky. It is great to see you again, and it goes without saying, we thank you for continuing to talk about this, to advocate for it. You've been a real example to people of taking what happened to you and trying to turn it into something better for the public good. You co-signed a letter that has been sent to the Attorney General that raises concerns about how the department is handling the Epstein documents. You call out the Deputy Attorney General for suggesting its review of the matter is over and says this release doesn't provide closure. Just quoting part of it. It feels instead like a deliberate attempt to intimidate survivors, punish those who came forward, and reinforce the same culture of secrecy that allowed Epstein's crimes to continue for decades. Broadly, at this point, what would you want the Justice Department to do differently with what it's got?
Well, I mean, at this point, the redactions have been what they are. There's been a huge release of Jane Doe's names to the public. We have seen nude photos of some underage girls that the government released. You know, just the redaction process in itself has been absolutely horrific. So we hope that we can, you know, protect whoever we still can. But I think the perpetrators are still being covered up here. And you know, I was just looking at a document recently with Virginia Giuffre's name out there for the world to see. Prince Andrew's name is redacted. In other cases, there has been the special agent who took many of our statements in 2018 and 2019 in New York City. Her information has been redacted, but survivors' information is out there, right? And so it just feels like an egregious oversight.
You guys, in this letter that you sent to the Justice Department, list 14 different questions you'd like answered. Among them, who approved the release of the documents that exposed survivors' names and identifying information? How did the government come to publish nude photographs and deeply sensitive material, and who will be held accountable for that breach? What's the timeline for releasing the remaining documents? And will you meet directly with survivors and survivor advocates before any further public release of Epstein-related materials? I didn't realize they haven't met with any of you.
No, the DOJ hasn't met with us, and we've been asking for meetings forever. I mean, definitely for the last month, we were requesting to meet with AG Bondi. We've been requesting to meet with Todd Blanche, and they've been in touch now with our lawyers, some of our lawyers, just to get redactions in place. But no, there's been no conversation with the DOJ.
I want to ask you the same question I asked the congressman. Based on your review of these documents, you think it's intentional these names are getting out there, or you think it's sloppy work?
I was going to say sloppy work in the beginning, but I'm starting to think that the incompetence is the strategy here. This idea of throwing all the survivors' names out there, so now they're pulling documents offline to now redact. So we actually don't know what is being pulled down for our lawyers to work on and what is being pulled down for other reasons. So I just think that that's been a challenge.
You are in Washington in part because a handful of congressional Democrats today unveiled what's called Virginia's Law.
Yes, I'm so excited to talk about Virginia's Law. Yes.
What would it do? What would it do differently? How would it make a difference?
Well, it would eliminate the statute of limitations. So right now, a lot of the forward-facing victims that you see are from 1999, 1996, you know, or as early as 1991 even. And, you know, they had to beg the government for their statement to even be taken. For my situation, you know, I was 17 when my abuse occurred in 2004, and my abuse would have never happened if anybody listened to Maria Farmer in 1996. So bringing it into today, basically eliminating the statute of limitations would mean that people who are the survivors that have been saying, please take my statement, can actually see justice for the crimes that are committed. There shouldn't be a limitation on justice, right? We know that the perpetrators exist, so everybody should be able to bring them to justice.
And it's the statute of limitations in civil suits against these people, not the criminal suits.
Not criminal,
but the idea that you could sue someone for the allegations or for doing all these terrible things.
I also wanted to throw out, they have a GoFundMe going for Virginia. She has a company called SOAR, and so there's more information on that. But just to keep their fight moving, it would be, so Annie Farmer has headed that, and you can find that on GoFundMe.
What do you want Congress to do? I asked the congressman the same thing. What more can they do? What should they be doing, pushing for next?
I mean, changing statute of limitations is a huge thing for all survivors. And that's the craziest part about all of this is we sit here as Epstein and Maxwell survivors. However, we've heard from so many survivors as a whole, and women and men who have gone through abuse and abusive situations. And so I think, we stand for everybody. And I think that if we can change statute of limitations and we can start holding, I think foreign countries are really taking this to heart, right? We see accountability in a plethora of ways, and we're starting to see they're just taking it seriously. And here it never feels like we're being taken seriously. Survivors are being called a hoax and saying this is over before it's even really begun. We need investigations.
To continue.
Yeah.
You anticipated my last question, so thank you for that. Dani Bensky, like we said, thank you for being here again, for the work you're doing. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.